Hi, 5D students. First of all, thank you very much for those who turned in the assignment on time last week, and I gave you guys very good marks. And this week, you're required to do one data response question, and please log into your Google Classroom and open the file I sent you. 5 seconds. Okay, so this week's homework is about socio-political participation, and referring to the assignments I gave you last week, many of you wrote a very good glossary with the key concepts included. So before we work on this week's work, let's do a recap about last week. The very important concepts would be legality, whether the activities are legal or not, the government's credibility or trustworthiness, and some of you included concepts like institutionalized and non-institutionalized activities. So these are the concepts that we've been learning in the past few weeks, and they should be applied to this week's assignments. Okay, going back to the assignments, let's have a look at the question. This time, there's only one question. And let's read it. From sources A and B, explain two controversies arising from the political participation of Hong Kong citizens. As what we've been doing, we have to chop the question into different pieces. So the first chop would be from sources A and B. This is the first chop, meaning that you have to use both sources. And the second chop, explain. Instead of merely describing, you have to give reasons to support your arguments. The next chop would be two controversies, and you have to make it very clear what the meaning of controversy is. Is it a positive word, negative word, or neutral word? Next chop, political participation. Next chop, Hong Kong citizens. And the question carries 6 marks. Okay, so let's have a look at both sources. And this time I gave very short sources. And source A, 2 photos taken during the Hong Kong anti-extradition bill movement. And there are 2 very extreme photos. On the left-hand side, you can see people demonstrating. And on the right-hand side, you can see protesters setting fire to MTR station. Okay, have you joined any one of these? Okay. There are several hints for you. Number 1, can you please tell, is there a difference in terms of the nature of the events? On the left-hand side, you can see crowds of people, but it is relatively more peaceful, obviously. And the right-hand side is quite violent, okay? Today, we're not focusing on your political stance. What you need to do is to find out the difference in terms of nature. And referring to the revision notes I gave you several weeks ago, please find an appropriate adjective to describe each of the photo. And after describing them, you can find out the controversy very easily. Okay, so first of all, in terms of the nature, whether the violence or non-violence, and second, you have to think about the legality, whether these events are legal or not. And obviously on the left-hand side, the police force approved people to gather for a demonstration. But on the right-hand side, this is obviously civil disobedience, 公民抗命, right? The third hint is, which method do you support? You may ask some of your friends, some family members, and request them to explain. Okay, I think after talking to them, you can have more clues about the controversy, because controversy means you have a very different view with your friends or people surrounding you. Okay, so this is source A. Okay, to conclude, think about the nature. Number 2, think about an adjective to describe the controversy. Let's move on to source B. So when we read this kind of table, first thing is to make the subject matter very clear. So you can see I wrote a description. In a poll of 2019, respondents who used social media as the main source of public affairs information responded to what? What do you think are the main reasons for Hong Kong citizens' political participation? So obviously this one is talking about the reasons why people participate in some political events. And in this table, I listed 4 reasons. Number 1, fight for democracy. Number 2, fight for freedom. Okay, what kind of freedom? Obviously, political freedom. For example, your rights to demonstration, your rights to social events. And number 3, troubled by housing problem. We've mentioned in lesson time. And number 4, troubled by economic problem. So first thing, we have learned about categorization. How would you categorize these 4 reasons? So I have to give you a big hint. You can categorize them into 2 major categories. Okay, democracy, freedom. They are more closely to the political aspect, and the latter 2, they are close to socio-economic problem. So this is the way how you categorize them when you do your write-up. And on the right hand side is the age of the interviewees. 14 to 29, 50 or above. In the past, a lot of students struggle how to describe these 2 age group. Are they teenagers? Are they the elderly people? Obviously, these 2 age groups don't fall into these categories. So why don't you just stick to the question word, okay, using words like interviewees aged 14 to 29 and interviewees aged 50 or above is clear and to the point. Okay, so after categorizing the age group as well, you have to pay attention to the numbers, the percentages, like what we've learned before, highlights the highest and the lowest percentage. Okay, so 14 to 29 age group, if I were you, I would have highlighted the first 2, fight for democracy and fight for freedom, constituting 80 and 87%. And for age group 50 or above, I would have highlighted 72 and 66%, troubled by housing problem and economic problem. So by analyzing the table like this, it would be very easy for you to find out the controversy. Okay, so we have gone through both sources, and I have already given you some hints about the controversy that you should include in your answers. Okay, so if you still have questions, please, number 1, Google is your best friend. Look up to the answers in Google, or if you can, if you have further questions, you can text me or call me up. Okay, and again, this question carries only 6 marks. I'm not looking forward to a very long essay. I need 2 big paragraphs with the 2 controversies listed and well elaborated. Okay, so to end this video, I have to remind you about the skills that we've learned. Number 1, a clear topic sentence. I need your controversy to be stated clearly in your topic sentence. Number 2, the reference to the source and the elaboration. By doing this part well, you need to do a very clear logical flow using the flow chart that we've been learning. Okay, and number 3, a high order skill, that is your conceptualization. Going back to the beginning of the video, you have already included some important concepts in this module last time's assignments. So please make good use of those concepts in your glossary. Okay, so please finish the task and upload your work to Google Classroom by Friday, 11:59 p.m. For those who turn up, submit the work on time, you have 10 marks of extra marks. Okay, so thank you very much. Take care.